Here we are with Chef Rich. Yes, Chef, what do we have planned for today's yummy food?
Today we're making a tomato jam. Sounds like a bit of a contradiction in terms, but I've got some overripe early girls which were intended for salads. They got a little bit ripe on me, so they're a little bit soft.
So, Rich, tell me a little bit about the flavor of this jam.
You have the apple cider contrasting against the honey and the sweetness of the tomato. So you have a little bit of salt in there, and it's really a nice contrast between the savory and the sweet. And the acid and the meat of the tomato. It's just delicious. What we're going to do is we're going to core them first. And
so coring them means
to take the stemmy portion out. We used a paring knife to get these cores out, and you want to make sure you start with a really sharp knife. And I'm using a much bigger knife. That's my general kitchen knife, and that's got a little bit of schmutz on it. So we're going to get that off and put a little bit of a crosshair on that guy. Then what we do is we take the tomatoes and we transfer them to a steamer. Let's get that boiling good and proper. And then we put them core side down, so cross side up in the steamer. I've got about 2 pounds of tomatoes. And then the clock is about 17 minutes before 3 o'clock. Going to let them boil for between 1 and 2 minutes. And the other ingredients that go in the jam: fresh ground pepper, quarter teaspoon of kosher salt, and 2 tablespoons of honey, and 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. So we steamed the tomatoes for about a minute or two, and now we're dumping them in cold water. And you want to let those cool down a bit. Then after they've cooled down, you take your paring knife and you start at the cross, and the skin comes off really super clean. Okay, so we've skinned the tomatoes. Now we're going to chop them. So I cut them in half, perpendicular to the axis of the tomato in engineering parlance, and I'm going to chop them up.
Little background, Chef Rich is an engineer, both in the kitchen and through his career. And if you notice his technique of cutting, he never chops his fingers.
Oh, that sounds really dangerous. I never chop my fingers, but just for you on the show, I'm gonna
show you what not to do.
Gonna add some more red that shouldn't be in the tomato.
It won't add to the flavor.
The early girls are dry farmed, so they're really super sweet. They don't get watered, so they have a really intense tomatoey flavor, and they're naturally.
Where did you get these?
I got these from my friend Peter, who's a hydroponic farmer at the Menlo Park Farmers Market. So now that they're chopped, I'm going to find a pan that fits them pretty well. And as I said, I started with about 2 pounds of tomatoes. And these are going into a kind of a small to medium small sized saucepan, which fits them pretty well. And they should be seeded as well as skinned. And the technique that I use for seeding is to cook them down so that they separate for a bit. So now these guys, put on a burner, and I add to that 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar.
Organic, no less.
2 tablespoons of honey. Looks like roughly 2 tablespoons right there. Untouched by human hands.
So that looked like you only put 1 giant tablespoon. Why did you say 2 tablespoons?
It's roughly 2.
Got it.
Roughly 1/4 tablespoon of salt, kosher salt. And roughly the same amount of pepper. I'm going to let that start boiling.
So do you stir it at all?
Yeah, you do. But right now it's got to do its thing. So I've got that on a pretty high flame. It should actually be on a medium-high flame. And another thing we want to make sure to do is throughout the cooking process, after you've got it completely heated up, we want to cook it uncovered so that the liquid can evaporate. So it's boiling pretty good. It's been boiling probably for about 5 or 10 minutes. You can see that the liquid is really separating off of the tomatoes, and so are the seeds. I'm going to take it off the flame and run it through a strainer. Oops.
Don't do this at home, boys and girls. Or if you do it, just smile and start all over again. There's a trick to this.
So this doesn't get all the seeds out, but it gets a lot of them out. Let's put it back on again.
So one of the most important things about cooking is to clean up after so that you always have a clean kitchen and you don't get cluttered. Right? Chef Rich?
That's always the goal. Doesn't always work out that way.
Makes it a little bit more efficient. And whoever has to clean the dishes afterwards makes their life easier. And
you want to stir it intermittently so that as it starts to thicken, it doesn't really congeal at the bottom of the pot. Gives you more yield. Get more gem that way. It's not some kind of a black, gooey mess that's hard to get off the pan. It's something you can put in a jar and actually eat.
got it.
So it's getting down towards the bottom. You can see that it's really thickening up a bunch. And there's just hardly any watery remains of the tomato. And it's getting kind of pasty looking. So pretty darn soon we're going to take this off the flame and it's going to be ready to go. Well, there's plenty you can do with it. You can put it in a little jar and put it in the fridge. It'll keep it for up to a couple of weeks. And it's great as a snack, or you can have it for breakfast and serve it on a piece of toast with a fried egg on top of it after you do what I'm about to do right now. I buttered some really nice sourdough country bread.
Is it Raymond's sourdough?
No, this is Semi Freddy's, which is a local bakery in Alameda.
Cool.
And I got some buttered toast with my tomato jam, and dig in. Incredible. So one of the things that's really cool that you can do is if you're at the end of the tomato season and you want to get a reminder of the summer, you can get a big batch of great tomatoes and let them ripen, boil them down, and make tomato jam, and put it in the freezer in small batches like that, and have a reminder of the summer every winter.
Thank you so much, Chef Rich. Can't wait to see you again.